There's a strange stillness hanging over Celtic Park these days. Even when the fans are in full voice, even when the songs ring out from the stands, there's a tension in the air. Like everyone knows something's not quite right, but no one wants to say it out loud. Celtic are top of the league, but it doesn't feel like it should. It doesn't feel like the kind of top that carries pride, that roars with momentum. Instead, it feels fragile. Like we're balancing on a knife's edge, waiting for either salvation or collapse. That might sound dramatic, but spend a few minutes with the supporters and you'll hear it. In the pubs, in the queues for chips in the walk up to paradise, the chat's the same. There's an unease, a frustration that goes beyond the odd bad result or patchy performance. It's not just about form, it's about identity. Who are Celtic supposed to be right now? What kind of club are we watching? Because to a lot of folk, this doesn't look or feel like the Celtic they know. And part of that comes down to Europe, or rather the absence of any real presence there. Once upon a time, a midweek under the lights in Glasgow meant something. It meant tension, pride, and often disbelief. Like when we beat Barca, like when we rattled Milan. But now we limp into the Champions League, barely land a punch, and drift out again with a shrug. The gulf's too big, they say. The money's not there. Fair enough, but what's being done about it? There's a real anger brewing among supporters about how Celtic approach Europe. It's as if we've accepted that we don't belong. As if the board sees qualifying for the group stage as the end goal, not the starting line. Just make it in, take the money, and move on. That attitude, that lack of ambition, it's draining. It's eating away at the pride supporters used to feel. Because even when we lost in the past, we fought. We went toe-to-toe. Now we show up, play timid, and vanish. And that's bleeding into the league as well. The SPFL's not exactly thriving, is it? There's no real competition beyond the old firm. Aberdeen Hearts. They've got their moments, but it's nothing consistent. It's no wonder fans are starting to wonder what the point is. You win the league, you go into the Champions League, and then what, you get battered, and we all pretend it's fine. Rinse and repeat. It's creating this weird situation where even success doesn't feel like success. Celtic could win the double this season and then still be grumbling. Still be folk asking, aye, but where are we actually going? Because it's not about silverware alone anymore. It's about growth, about purpose, about knowing your club has a plan beyond just staying ahead of Rangers and counting the gate receipts. And speaking of Rangers, there's no denying the rivalry's as fierce as ever. But it says a lot that Celtic's main barometer of success even now is still just being better than them. That can't be it. That can't be the whole story. It's too small a goal for a club that prides itself on being more. More than just domestic dominance. More than just local bragging rights. Celtic were always supposed to dream bigger than that. European nights, big names, youth development, building something real, not just surviving. The manager, well, he's got questions to answer too. Brendan Rodgers knows what this club means. He knows what's expected, but at times it feels like even he's trapped in his loop of short-term thinking, rotating squads like we're a mid-table Premier League side managing players instead of building a cohesive team. There's talent in the side, no doubt. Kyogo, Maida, McGregor, these boys can play. But where's the fire? Where's the conviction? It's like watching a team that's forgotten its own story, a team that's trying to remember how to be Celtic but can't quite piece it together. And that's not just on the pitch. The structure of it, the recruitment, the strategy, the boardroom decisions, they all feel reactive. There's no grand vision, no bold moves. Just caution. Just more of the same. And maybe that's the most frustrating part, because the fans haven't changed. They still show up, still travel, still sing, still believe, or want to believe. They're desperate for something to hold on to. Not just trophies, but belief. Belief that Celtic can be Celtic again. That we can scare teams in Europe. That we can be proud of the way we play. That we're not just the biggest fish in a tiny pond, but a real force with real ambition. But right now, it's all fog. A club stuck between what it was and what it could be. Drifting, waiting, hoping for something, someone to spark a change. Not just another signing, not just another win over Rangers. A real shift in attitude, in ambition, in direction. Because if we keep doing the same thing over and over expecting different results, well, we all know what that is. And Celtic deserve better. The fans deserve better. The club's history demands better. Maybe the hardest thing to accept is that this didn't happen overnight. Celtic didn't just wake up one morning and forget how to build for the future. This decline in ambition, this slide into comfort and routine, has been coming for years. Ever since the early 2000s, when the gap between us and the elite in Europe started to widen, the club's response wasn't to fight harder. It was to retreat, to protect what we had, to settle, and that mindset's now woven into everything from the boardroom to the dugout. You can see it in the way transfers are handled. We sign projects, not players. We invest in potential, not presence. That might sound smart on paper, buy low, sell high, but football isn't a spreadsheet. It's a living, breathing thing. It's emotion risk moments. And too often we go into big games with boys instead of men. Lads who might become great, sure. But what about now? What about today? What about that moment when you need someone to grab a match by the scruff of the neck and say, nah, this time we've had flashes, Ange Postecoglou brought a bit of that energy back. He had vision, he had purpose. You could feel it even when it wasn't perfect. There was a plan. But even he, with all his convictions, saw the ceiling, saw the limitations. And when a Premier League club came knocking, he was gone. Just like that. And fair enough, who could blame him? The reality is Celtic as it stands can't keep the best. We don't retain, we don't evolve, we just repeat. And now we've got Rodgers again, a familiar face, a known quantity. But the second act never feels quite like the first, does it? The sparkle's gone. The speeches don't hit the same. The football's tidy, sure, but it's safe. It's calculated. It's too focused on not losing instead of trying to win. And if that's all Celtic aspire to, managing games, nicking results, hoping for moments of brilliance, then what are we really doing here? This isn't the Celtic of Lisbon nor of Seville. It's not even the Celtic of Martin O'Neill or Neil Lennon in his prime. It's something flatter, more corporate, like a brand trying to keep shareholders happy, like a business first and a football club second. And the supporters feel it. They know it, because Celtic were never meant to be just a company. Celtic was, and still is, a cause, a community, a heartbeat. That's why folk are angry. Not because we're losing matches, that happens, but because it feels like the soul of the club is being smothered by spreadsheets and shallow ambition. And there's always talk of balancing the books and being sustainable. But what's sustainable about mediocrity? What's sustainable about watching your best players leave every summer because the club refuses to push the boat out? It gets worse when you look across the continent. You see clubs like Feyenoord Salzburg, even Copenhagen, all managing to compete with less than we've got. Not win every match, no, but punch above their weight, make noise, scare the big boys once in a while. And you wonder, why can't that be us? Why is our ceiling so low? Why does the board act like spending $7 million on a striker is some kind of reckless gamble when we're sitting on tens of millions in the bank? It's because there's no pressure to change. Domestically, the league's a procession more often than not. The SPFL's weak, disorganized, and underfunded. The TV deal's a joke. The marketing's amateur. There's no drive from the top to modernize, to evolve, to give clubs the platform they need. And Celtic, being the biggest name in that pond, get away with it. We win the league, we tick the boxes, we collect the check. Nobody asks the hard questions. But outside the borders, things are shifting. UEFA are rattling cages. There's talk of changes, real changes. A revamped Champions League format, pressure for regional leagues, murmurings of cross-border competitions that might actually offer a way out of this cycle. For years, folk dismissed those ideas. But now, they're starting to make sense. Because let's be honest, how long can a club like Celtic survive in a league that's stuck in the 90s? We need competition. We need challenge. We need stakes. Right now, too many league games are dead rubbers. No edge, no pressure. And what happens to players in that environment? They soften. They cruise. They lose that hunger. That's why the jump to European level feels like a punch to the gut. Because we're not prepared. Not physically, not mentally, not tactically. We're miles off it, and it shows. So what's the solution? It's not simple, but it starts with honesty. The board needs to level with the fans. Stop selling pipe dreams. Stop pretending that doing the bare minimum is enough. Because we see through it. The supporters aren't daft. They know when something's not right. And what they want more than anything is a bit of hope. A plan. I sense that someone at the top actually gives a toss about pushing Celtic forward, not just keeping the lights on. It also means taking real risks. not reckless ones, but brave ones. Investing properly, building a team that's not just good enough to win the league, but good enough to grow. To push, to believe, and maybe that means overhauling the recruitment, maybe it means hiring folk with fresh ideas, not just pals of the board, maybe it means looking at youth differently, giving real minutes to real talent instead of loaning them out to Peterhead, and maybe, just maybe, it means Celtic stepping up and leading the conversation about where Scottish football goes next. Demanding more, pushing the SPFL to modernize, exploring those cross-border options. Because if we sit back and wait, someone else will shape our future for us. And by then, it might be too late. The truth is, Celtic fans will always be there. Rain or shine, win or lose. But loyalty shouldn't be mistaken for complacency. We've seen too much, lived through too much to accept this slow drift into irrelevance. The club means too much to too many across Scotland, across Ireland, across the globe, and we can't let it shrink. We can't let it fade. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Gareth Bale, one of the most iconic figures in recent British football history, is set to make a stunning return to the game, but not on the pitch. In a move that has already sent shockwaves through the Scottish footballing world, Bale will take over as the new sporting director of Celtic Football Club. The former Real Madrid and Wales superstar, known for his blistering pace, clutch goals, and unmatched Champions League pedigree, is now stepping into the boardroom to help guide the Hoops into a bold new era. This unexpected appointment has captured the imagination of fans across the country. Bale, who retired from professional football in early 2023, had largely kept a low profile since hanging up his boots, focusing on golf and spending time with his family. But behind the scenes, it seems the Welshman had been preparing for a return to football in a strategic rather than a playing capacity. His appointment at Celtic marks his first major role in football management, and the expectations couldn't be higher. There's an air of ambition about this move from the Celtic hierarchy. Bringing in someone with Bale's global profile signals a clear desire to not just dominate domestically, but to become a real force in Europe once again. Known for his strong mentality and elite experience at the very top of the game, Bale brings invaluable insight and a fresh perspective to the club's footballing operations. His connections, both in the Premier League and abroad, could also open doors to new transfer opportunities and innovative player development strategies. Supporters will now be eager to see how Bale shapes Celtic's future, particularly as they aim to wrestle back complete control of Scottish football and push further in continental competitions. While his boots may be hung up for good, Bale's next chapter in football is just beginning, and it starts in Glasgow under the green and white banner of Celtic. Hello, friend. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.